Hello and welcome to Excel Essentials. In this session, we'll be covering the SUMIF and SUMIFS functions. SUMIF is an Excel function which is used to sum values in a range that meet a criteria that you specify. Now, as you can see here, we have some data in our SUMIF. We've got products that we sell, how many we sold, and what days that the data is pulling from of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now, SUMIF can be used in this scenario to count and total the amount of sales for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or per product, such as hoodie, blazer, and tie. Using the SUMIF function will only sum values that are matching your criteria. So say you had the criteria of equaling Monday, then it would only sum the values of Monday. And you can either hard code the word Monday or you could leave it with a cell reference only. So if that cell reference ever changed and you changed it to say Thursday or Wednesday, it would then update to that. And of course here we have no data for Thursday. So if we were to do that, for example, the SUMIF would return a value of 0. But let's start with our Monday. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do equals SUMIF. And here for the range, we are going to select the data where we want to find our criteria in. So we're looking at days here. So our range will be the day column in column C. So we're just going to select all of column C and then we're going to hit a comma. And now here is where we will put in our criteria. Now, as I mentioned, you can either just select the cell, in this scenario F3, which is Monday's date, which is written in there, or we could do it as hard coding it in. So we're just going to type in, leave it as F3 at the moment, and we'll do the hard coding in a moment. And then here is where we will then hit another comma, and here is where we'll specify our sum range. Now this is important so that we are able to calculate and total the values that we want to add in this example. And for it, we will select column B. And then once we're done, we'll close that and we'll hit enter. Now, as you can see here, it's brought value of 92. And we can verify that quickly by selecting all our Monday sales, which are neatly together, and then looking in this action bar at the bottom right. And as you can see, it says sum 92. Now, if you also click on that, it will copy it to your clipboard. And then if I was to come here, I could also paste it. And as you see, that 92 is not calculated, but it's only calculated via selecting options in Excel. Now, if I changed this to say Tuesday, for example, you can see the value has now changed to 130. And if I was to select Tuesday, we can see again that that has totaled up to the 130. Now I'm just going to revert this back to Monday and I'm just going to copy and double click this down, and as you see it's calculated the others. And here the total is at 321, which matches the total of our data set. Now, I did mention that we would go through the hard coding option. And what we're going to do here is we're going to delete Wednesday and we're going to do Wednesday from scratch. And we know the value should be 99. So we're going to do equals SUMIF. And here we will select our range again, which are the days, and then we'll hit a comma. Now for the criteria this time, we won't be selecting F5, which is where the text Wednesday is in, but instead we'll open a speech mark and we'll type in Wednesday and we'll close that speech mark. Then we would hit comma and then we would select column B again and close the bracket. And as you see, we've got that 99 back. So if I was to change blouse, for example, from 13 to 10, we can see it's also updated there and now it reflects 96. We can also do it here for hoodie, blazer and tie by either doing it with the hard-coded or doing it via just the cell reference. So we're going to do equals SUMIF. And here it will be slightly different. We won't be selecting column C because our hoodie value is a product. And we would select products column instead of the day column. And then here we will select comma, and then we will select our hoodie cell, and then we'll hit another comma, and then we will select our sum range. And then we'll close that, and as you see, we sold 47 hoodies. And if I double click on that little green box in the bottom right, you can see it's also calculated how many blazers and ties we sold in that 3-day period, with 46 and 40 respectively. You can go and check this manually. So if we select hoodie manually and hold control as we select them, we can see it sold 47. Blazer, we can see it then sold 46, and then tie will be 40 in total as well. Now we're going to have a look at the SUMIFS formula. Now this is similar to the SUMIF formula, but it has some noticeable key differences. So the first one you may notice is the way that the formula is arranged. And this will start off with your sum range, which where we saw last time, that was the last parameter we put in. And there is reasoning behind the way it is structured. And I will delve into that better. But additionally, for the sum ifs formula to also calculate and total, your data also needs to meet all the arguments of the multiple criteria which you do set. And this is really great because it also helps you narrow down in a way to get a specific value for something. And pivot tables can help with this, but if you love grabbing it really quickly and easily with SUMIFS rather than fiddling around with pivot tables, you can do it too. So as you can see here in column J, we have some data that we want to obtain from our table in columns A through D. Now, as you may notice, this looks similar to the data we had in the SUMIF, but now we just have the week element added in for additional criteria meeting in this scenario. And let's say we want to find out how many hoodies we sold on week 1. Now, this is where you can hard code it in, and this is where it will be preferable. So then you're only finding the specific answer for what you need it to. So we're going to start off with equals, and we're going to type in sum ifs. And then we're going to open the bracket, and as you can see, we will need to put in our sum range first. And this is where we'll select all of column B. Once we've done that, we'll hit a comma and move on to the second element. And now you might be able to see a little bit of structure here. Now the SUMIFS formula and function works with your sum range being the first element you put in. So that way, if you need to add 2, 3, 4 arguments that your calculation needs to meet, you can add them in a succinct manner by selecting the column where you want your criteria to be met in, and then the value you want as your criteria. And in this scenario, our first criteria will be the hoodies. So we're going to then select our product column because that's where it mentions hoodie. So we're going to select all of column A, and that's our criteria range this time round. Then we're going to hit comma, and here we will then select our criteria. Now this will be hoodie in this example, so we're going to hard code it in just to remove any confusion. And plus, if we selected the cell in column J, it wouldn't help us identify that we're looking for the product hoodie because hoodie sold on week 1 is not a valid value within the product column. Now, here is then where we can set up criteria range 2. And if you need to meet 4, 5, 6 different criteria, you can do that as well. But it will always be your range and then what value you're looking for it to match. Now, we're going to hit comma after the hoodies in speech marks. And here we need to look for the week matching the value 1. And as you see, these are all numbers because the numbers automatically align to the right hand side of the cell. And we're going to select column D, which is our week column. Then we're going to hit a comma. And here is where we'll put in our criteria, which is just the number 1 in this scenario. We don't need to wrap the number 1 in quotation marks. If it was written out specifically as week 1, then we would need the quotation marks. But because it's a number, it can sit as its own value within a function and formula without requiring the actual speech marks and quotation marks. And then once we're happy with this, we can see that our sum is saying that we want to count the quantity, which is the column B, which is B colon B. And we want to count all of that in the quantity and total the values where in the product in column A matches our hoodie, and then our week number, which is column D, matches week 1. Now, if we hit enter, we can see that we sold 39 hoodies on week 1. Now, if we were to go away and actually verify that, we can see that we only have two entries for hoodies on week 1, which is on row 9 and row 2. We do have another third entry for hoodie, but that's on week 2. And 21 plus 18 is 39. Now we can go ahead and do the same for socks and blouses. So we'll do equal SUMIFs, and then here we will select our column B again. And then our criteria range will be our products first in column A. And then here we will type in socks. And then we would select our week column and put 1 because we're looking for number of socks sold on week 1, which is 45. And we can verify that here quickly as well. And then blouses sold on week 2. We can do this as well. And we're going to select our column B as usual. Then we're going to select our products, and here we will type in blouses. And then our criteria range for week 2 this time is week 2 instead of week 1, so we'll put a 2 instead. And then once we're done, we'll hit enter. And as you see, we've made a mistake. We've typed in blouses in plural. We didn't sell blouses, we sold the product blouse, so we know we can come back here and change that back to blouse, and now we see we have the 13 mentioned in row 18. We can also do it by looking at something sold on a specific day, for example. Now, if we see we're looking for jeans sold on a Tuesday, we will do some ifs, and we will apply the first bit that we are familiar with. And we would do column A as our criteria range, and then jeans as our product criteria. And then this time we will look at days. So we would select column C instead of column D. And then here we would put Tuesday. And then we will close the brackets, and we see we sold 23 jeans on Tuesday. Now, I'm going to make a change, and we'll see that it also works the same way as the week 1 and week 2. I'm going to change the Wednesday week 2 for the jeans to be Tuesday in week 2. Now, once that's done, we see that the value has changed to 48 because it's pulling on the Tuesday values for the jeans. And then finally, we can do the same for our blazers. And we can select our quantity column again. We can then select our product and make sure it equals blazer, not blazers, because we have products written mostly in their singular form. And then we would select the day column and type in Monday. And then as you can see, we sold 12 blazers on Mondays. And that matches with what we have here on row 5. We didn't sell blazers on any other Monday in our data set. Stay tuned for more Excel Essentials.